Yes?
As you want.
Well? Finally. Uh-huh.
That way. All right.
Stay where you are! These things aren't just here for bugger and blast! You just had to find out for yourself, didn't you?
Yes?
I am ready.
Corporal?
What the... Tahar? Is that you?
I'll explain later. What's the situation? What are those things?
My newest invention. Or, to be more precise, my newly recovered Shaper technology. I call them, Death Towers.
Death towers.
Yeah. While you were asleep, I did some more research on how the Shapers use the Nexus to defend their city. This is the result, though they won't hold forever. And my gut tells me the Utrans are up to something, because I haven't seen Lady Moira yet.
So it's true? House Utran is fighting for the purity?
Yeah, and quite viciously so. In other words, your awakening couldn't be more timely.
What do you suggest?
Well, as you know, I'm not the best of tacticians, but from what I saw, the attacks are currently coordinated by 2 Utran commanders. If we stay here and make sure no one gets through, you could take out those commanders in the meantime.
Got it. I'll come back when it's done.
Good. Me help guide your blade, friend.
Understood.
Sure.
I'm injured.
Killed one of our heroes.
What? That's all? I'm only getting started. Blazes! Help me, somebody!
Killed one of our heroes.
Damn it! I need healing.
Come on. Don't die on us now.
Fine. Really? Pathetic. Uh-huh.
Understood. Now would you...
Tahar, did you deal with those commanders yet?
No, I'm on it.
Good.
Will do. Finally.
What?
Let's see.
What do you require?
Yes?
Zarek's fangs. Dahar.
Corporal.
Yes?
Blazes, it is you. Last time I saw you, you were lying on that stone bed like a bloody corpse.
That's about how I felt when I woke up. What's the situation? I don't see any Purity men around here.
No, not Purity, but someone else. According to my scout, they're gathering their forces down that valley. My gut tells me they're waiting for reinforcements.
If it's not the Purity, who are we dealing with? Another one of the royal houses?
No, I don't think so. To me, they look like bandits. But they're fighting under Aeonir's banner. And the man my Kayran hunter took down had the Purity symbol tattooed right across his forehead.
The Bane. The ones who massacred the Nortander outpost in Leafshade.
Huh. Yeah, that fits.
Damn it. What's the plan then?
Well, now that you're here, I say you move out and crush them. We'll hold our position and cover your backs.
Simple enough. All right then. Move out.
Finally.
They won't stand a chance.
Child's play.
So much blood. Yes?
The fabled pariah. Interesting. I thought you were dead.
Why are you doing this? Throwing your lives away for some deluded madman.
Deluded? You're confusing something, Tahar. The Harbinger is pure. We're pure. You. People like you are who are making this necessary. It wasn't always like that, you know. A long time ago, this world was a world of peace. But then man gave in to temptation. They were weak, and they chose sin over virtue, sin over purity. And now look where we stand. Our history is a testament to our corruption. Wars, rape, hunger, illness. They are Aeronir's punishment for defying him. But that era has come to an end. We will make the world pure again and make it worthy of Aeronir's return.
You're fanatics. You've completely lost your mind.
On the contrary, we found it. But you're beyond repentance, so let's save ourselves the breath and end this already.
How do you like that?
Not bad, Tahar. Not bad.
Any last words?
Yeah. Listen.
What the?
Go after me and lose your city and your friend, or save them and let me go. Your choice.
What's next? She got away.
No time to go after her. We need to secure the entrance.
Whatever's necessary.
Need control. I'll do what's required.
You'll regret this. You read my mind.
Prepare yourselves.
Leave it to me.
Anything on your mind?
Interesting.
Corporal?
Got it.
A trap. I should have seen that.
Their leader got away.
I figured. But it won't be the last time we see her. We secured the entrance. That's what matters. What about the rest of the city? They attacked from all sides at once.
Yes, I know. We'll take care of it. Just hold your position for now. Once all this is over, we'll meet at the Nexus.
Understood. Don't die, Tahar.
I'll do my best.
What now? The southwest, the southeast, and the northeastern entrance are still undefended.
Then we need to take care of them.
Yes?
Sure.
Taha, you're awake.
Shit. So they've already breached the outer walls.
They will soon. That masked thing on the other side. I don't know how he does it, but he's draining me.
Drain. Area!
Blazes, what kind of magic is that? Ready yourself, Tahar! One down!
Not the real one.
Ellen's reins. What happened?
The barrier gave up.
Blazes. For someone who just came back from the dead, you're in good shape. Whatever your mother did to you, it seems to help. What about that masked fellow? Where is he?
We've taken care of him. At least for now. Are you injured?
No, just a scratch. Seems like Scryer Elion got the worst of it.
Can you take care of her? We have to make sure the other entrances are safe.
Yes. I'll get her to the Nexus as quick as possible. Be careful, Corporal. I have a feeling that masked priest wasn't Lacane's only ace up the sleeve.
Probably not. Stay safe, Iria. There's still 2 entrances we haven't covered yet. Let's hope it's not too late. Let's see.
Are you deaf? I said no!
You're here. Good. I assume that means the Northwest is secured.
It is. How about you?
Well, we managed to fend off their first attack. They aren't Purity, though.
What then?
Mercenaries. They don't have a banner, so they could be about anyone. Thing is, they've put up a siege weapon of sorts right up that hill, which prevents us from retaliating.
What kind of weapon?
I don't know. It looks like some kind of catapult, but it seems to be magic-fueled and throws fireballs which cause massive damage. We're out of reach, but the moment we move against their camp, it'll decimate us within seconds.
Whereas, if you attack the machine directly, the mercenaries themselves will fall into your backs.
Or swarm right into the city, yes. We weren't enough to split up, but now we are. Good timing, in other words.
So you want us to destroy that weapon?
Yes. The moment it is down, we'll go for their strong point.
I understand. Got it.
Of course. I'll be swift.
There it is. Take it down.
Shit! Kill them!
That should do it.
Then we should join Angar. He'll need help with his attack.
Blazes! Help me, somebody!
I'm injured. I'm injured.
Understood. Now which is...
Blazes! This is Commander Katras from Aenir's Deathmen.
So he's fighting for the purity now.
Corporal Tahar. What a surprise.
Katras, why?
Don't talk, friend. Fight.
That's all? I'm only getting started.
That way. All right.
Blazes, Tahar. Now I know why Lacane wants you dead. You really know how to fight.
Why, Katras? Why side with the Harbinger?
Blazes, you do like your dramatic lines, don't you? Look, this isn't personal. Lacane and his fanatics took down my camp and gave me a choice. Repent and accept the light, or have some stern-faced priest ram a bloody pike up me arse. So, unless you have some odd fantasies that I don't want to know about, don't tell me you wouldn't have done the same.
A loyal man wouldn't have.
Well, good thing I never swore loyalty to you or the Empire, isn't it? Don't kid yourself, Lord Marshal. You would have done the exact same thing. Pretend all you like. In the end, we're all selfish pieces of shit. And the only difference between me and you is that I'm honest about it.
Any last words?
I hate to disappoint, but we're not quite there yet, friend. Goodbye, Tahar. Too bad we couldn't be on the same side this time.
What the?
Teleport rune. Wise choice.
Bloody cow.
Yes?
At least we secured the entrance. That's what matters. What about the rest of the city? Are we safe?
Let's see.
At least we secured the entrance. That's what matters. What about the rest of the city? Are we safe?
Not yet. Hold your position for now. We'll meet at the Nexus once all this is over.
Understood. Tiara's blessings to her.
Of course.
Almost through. Just one more entrance to go.
All the more reason to hurry.
Fine. Really?
Sure.
I'll do what's required.
Sure.
I understand.
Understood.
Finally.
They will burn.
You'll regret this.
Blazes! Help me, somebody! What? That's all? I'm only getting started.
Good. Now let's find the other one.
Child's play. Really?
I understand.
Sure.
Blazes! That's Lady Myra Utran! We need to help Iskrim! They will fall.
You picked the wrong enemies.
Pathetic.
Got it.
Whatever's necessary.
I'll make it quick. Is there anything you need?
We'll make short work of them.
Die already! Blazes! What's the matter with her? She's acting like a bloody animal.
One more step and I'll slit my throat.
Lady Mira, what?
Shut up!
Tell me one reason I shouldn't kill you.
Let me think. How about the fact that if I die, the Utran lands will fall into chaos and you'll have another civil war at hand? Just what you need right now, isn't it? Not to mention that the poor, precious Lord Marshal would be heartbroken losing his sister like that.
I hate to say it, but she's right. We cannot let her die.
But I don't understand. Why did you betray the crown? Explain yourself.
Explain yourself. Oh, Tahar, you must understand the situation. You're not in a position to give orders. So here's what's gonna happen. You will let me walk away unharmed. You can have my soldiers, I don't care. But if you make only one wrong move, I will end this by slitting my throat.
Lady Mira, what?
You heard me. So, Tahar, what shall it be?
Fine. Get out of here.
A man of reason. One more thing, though, before I leave.
What?
You will repent. All of you.
Well, Niehaus hammer. What was that?
I have absolutely no idea. Come, let's go help Iskrim.
Niehaus hammer. What happened?
Myra Utran got away.
How?
She threatened to kill herself if we didn't let her leave, which would have caused a civil war in her lands. Iskrim, she was different. Possessed.
Possessed? Huh. Well, that's interesting.
Why?
Because I've recently made a discovery. But let's talk about that later. I think this entrance should be safe for now. The Death Towers will make sure of that. But what about the rest of the city?
I'm on it. We'll meet at the Nexus when, if, this mess is taken care of. Be on your guard, Iskrim.
Of course. Thank you again, Tahar. I'm glad you're back.
So many casualties. I just don't understand. We just ended one war. Now the Harbinger starts another.
Human nature, Tahar. People need an enemy. Peace is always fleeting.
Do you really think so?
I do.
What do you mean? She was possessed. This doesn't make any sense.
I'm afraid it does. But again, I have a theory. Let's wait for Tahar.
There you are. I've assigned troops to guard the entrances and double the defenses. If the Harbinger ever strikes again, we'll be prepared.
Yes? What do we need? Good work.
Anyway, there are more important things we need to discuss now. For starters, what, by the Guardians, happened to my sister?
That's a damn good question. Iskrim, you said that you have a theory.
Well, yeah, I do. The rune. While you were asleep, I tinkered with it a little.
You think the rune has something to do with this?
A rune. But it's probably best if I show you. Follow me, Tahar.
I'm coming too.
All right, let's see. Turn around.
Tiara's breath.
Step forward. So, you get the idea.
Mind control.
Yeah. There are still some critical problems with it, and what I've done is far from what the Harbinger did with Lady Moira. But Tahar, this rune, it has so much potential. If you thought what it does with the Godstones was fascinating, it's just the beginning. The Shapers, the Khazarlanthep, they knew their full potential. And this is the reason they were so powerful. Do you see it now? They...
Have you lost your bloody mind? Stop that! Whatever it is! Stop it now!
What?
Stop it for fuck's sake!
Fine. You're free. Go and take a nap.
Unbelievable. This is unbelievable.
So you actually possessed those men?
No, I mean, yeah, the rune did. Look, Tahar, I know that I was maybe a bit too enthusiastic here, but can't you see the potential? Those soldiers, they do anything you command them to, without batting an eyelid.
They still look hypnotized. Are they free now?
Yeah. It may take a while to recover, but tomorrow they won't remember anything. So it's not that bad. Who knows? Maybe they would have died in the fight if they hadn't been under my control.
And you think that the Harbinger controls Lady Myra, right?
Yes. And in an extraordinarily powerful way, if I may say so.
Huh. In other words, we need to find a way to break that possession. Right now, House Utran is under the Harbinger's control.
Madness. This is madness.
Whatever it is, let's tend to the wounded first. We'll discuss everything else in the Nexus.
Yes. Let's do that.
All right, let's catch our breath first. Angar, I'll talk to you when I'm ready to discuss the next steps.
Good. I'll be waiting.
Ah, Tahar. Never mind.
Something on your mind?
Well, maybe. Remember when you asked me about Rain? The other gifted shaman from my tribe.
Yeah? What about it?
I want to talk about it. I'm not supposed to, but I don't know. I trust you, Tahar, and I've kept silent about this for far too long. Zarek's fangs, this is so silly. Feel like a damn child.
Gore, just spit it out already.
Right. Where do I start? Before becoming a shaman, every disciple has to go through a trial. The Iron Trial, as it's called. I told you that I did most of my training in solitude, didn't I? That wasn't true. 5 years after I entered disciplehood, another orc was accepted by my elder, a female named Rain. She was 2 years younger than me.
I thought only male orcs can be gifted.
No. It's just that for female orcs, it's even rarer to have magic. Which is why there are close to no female shamans.
Huh. How did you get along?
Well, at first, I was a complete dick to her. I was jealous and feared for my position. However, she never took offense by it. She fired back at me when I got childish, but at the same time never lowered herself to my level. As the years went by, we became friends. And no, there was no courting or mating involved, if that's what you're thinking. She was more like a sister to me, and one who, unlike my true kin, understood me. Those years in the Orcish steppes, they were special. We spent days, weeks out in the wild, doing whatever our elder tasked us with. And though it was hard, there was beauty in that. We just had this connection between us, this trust.
Sounds like friendship to me.
Yeah, friendship. I never had a connection like that again, and I rarely talk about it. One time I did, the orc I told it to laughed right in my face. He thought it was ludicrous, a male spending time with a female who wasn't his mate. Stopped laughing when I broke his nose.
But something happened, am I right?
Yeah, the trial did. The sacred test every disciple has to take before he or she can become a shaman. Our elder sent us both at the same time, which was unusual. But of course I was relieved. There was plenty of talk about the Iron Trial, and I was scared.
How did Rain feel about it?
Same as I. Believe me, Tahar, only a fool would have entered into the trial with a smug smile on his face. We knew what was ahead of us.
What did you know about the trial?
Rumors. Shamans are forbidden to talk about it. But it was known that only half of those who take it return at all.
So what happened?
Zarek's fangs. I can't believe I'm telling you this. I'm breaking my oath.
For what it's worth, I'll keep silent about it, I promise.
I know you will, Tahar. Otherwise we wouldn't be having this conversation. We weren't told much about the trial. Only that we'd have to venture to a cave, far up in Bargar Gore. They also didn't tell us how to get there. Only that Zarek would guide us. And he did. After a week of traveling, we found it. It was a strange place, Tahar. I saw that right from the beginning. The entrance looked like a mouth. The rocks surrounding it like the bones of an old forgotten beast. And the stalagmites like hundreds of teeth. But of course, we went in. We had to.
What did you find?
A giant hall. It was as mesmerizing as it was unsettling. There were murals and carvings all over the cave walls. Old glyphs that I'd never seen before.
Shaper glyphs, maybe?
No, not Shaper. They looked as if the Guardians themselves had carved them into the rock.
Interesting. What else was there?
Nothing. That's what baffled me. Apart from those murals, the hall was completely empty. And for some reason, the ground in that hall was completely smooth, like polished stone. There were braziers, one in each corner of the hall, and they were burning brightly. Rain was as confused as I was. But nonetheless, we entered the hall. And that's when the trouble began. Because all of a sudden, the exit was gone. No magical noise, nothing. Just in that moment when we looked the wrong direction, it disappeared. And instead of it, we were looking at another wall.
How is that even possible? Maybe it was an illusion.
That was our first thought too, but it wasn't. That new wall was as solid as every other rock in that hall.
Strange. What did you do?
Well, after we calmed down a little, we assessed our situation. We figured that this was the Iron Trial, and that it was our task to find another exit. So we started looking. But it was pointless. There was nothing. We couldn't even hear the wind anymore. For the next 14 days we were trapped. We couldn't make that wall disappear, and no matter how long we studied the glyphs, how long we prayed, nothing happened. On the 5th day, our provisions had come to an end, save for half a skin of water and a handful of jerky. On the 8th day, it was all gone.
Blazes. How did you survive?
I'm getting there. As you can imagine, the thirst was the worst. It drove us mad, and we searched every corner of that goddamn hall for just a drop of water. Not that we hadn't looked before, but as you know, hope dies last. Have you ever had thirst, Tahar? Real thirst?
Yes.
Then you know what it feels like. On the 11th day, Rain and I were puking our guts out. Our skin had literally started to crack. And I felt as if I was burning from within. On the 12th day, we were only an inch from death. That's when the dream came.
A dream?
Yes, a shared dream. almost like a vision. We were still in that hall, Rain and I, but we were out of our bodies, floating like spirits. At first I thought we had died, then I saw what was different. The floor was full of blood, and that blood was burning. The murals and glyphs had started moving, twisting, like shadows dancing on a wall. That's when I first understood what they were depicting. For some reason in the real world, I'd never been able to.
What did they depict?
It showed what was expected from us, what we had to do to get out. Sorry this isn't easy. I've dreamed about those weeks ever since. But telling someone, it feels bizarre. Zarek demanded a fight. Either one of us died by the hands of the other, or we would die there together. The Iron Trial. We were never both meant to pass.
Truth be told, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, and it shouldn't have surprised me either. But for some reason, I don't know. He had known Tahar, our elder, our master. He had known that it would come to this. Yet he still decided to send the two of us out at once.
So you fought each other?
No. Trial or not, I would have rather died than done that. And that's precisely what I told Rain. A god that demands a man to kill his own sister is not a god that deserves worship by anyone. But Rain wouldn't have it. She claimed that if both of us died, both of our lives would be wasted for nothing. I got angry and asked her if she meant that she wanted to fight me. She said no.
I don't understand.
She wanted me to kill her. She told me that she was already too weak to make it down the mountain anyway, but that I could still make it. Believe me, Tahar, if there had been any strength left in me, I would have punched her just for suggesting it.
Did you ever consider sacrificing yourself?
No. I know it makes me sound like a coward. And maybe that was part of the reason why I didn't. But the same part of my mind still believed that there had to be another way. That all this was just some cruel joke. And the cave we had found maybe wasn't Zarek's after all.
And yet, you're here.
I am. I should have known before she even did it. She always had to have it her way, no matter the price. It happened when I was asleep. She took my dagger from its sheath, put it into my hand, and drove it through her throat without hesitation. When I opened my eyes, her blood was already all over my face. And as if Zarek had been watching all along, the wall disappeared. No noise. Just like that. The wind was back, and it was raining outside. The first time in months. I'd like to think that she saw it before she died.
Did you make the descent?
I did. There were berries in a mountain goat that had been hit by a rock slide, right next to the exit. It was so absurd I almost had to laugh. When I got back to the Elder's shack, I screamed at him, then broke down and started to cry. He just listened. In the end, he told me that we had both known what had been at stake. Yet we agreed. Choice and consequence. He made me a shaman the next day.
Do you blame yourself sometimes?
Of course I do. But ultimately, it was her choice. And all I can do to honor her now is to respect it.
I see.
There's one more thing. Remember when you asked me why I feel the way I do about our culture? Why I think we orcs should strive for more? It's Rain who made me realize that. Most orcs would have fought each other in that cave, to the death. But she didn't. Instead of submitting to her primal instincts, she made a sacrifice. One that I could have made too, if I hadn't been such a coward. Blazes, it feels strange to have told you all this. But, I don't regret it.
Well, thanks for trusting me with this, Gore.
Let me have some time for myself right now, alright? I need to think.
Tahar, ready to discuss the next steps?
Yes? Interesting.
I was hoping you'd come by. That was quite the surprise visit, wasn't it? The Harbinger couldn't have picked a better time for his attack.
I guess you could say that. How's your injury? That blast from the barrier looked quite painful.
The blast? Oh yeah, sure. I'm as good as new. One of the perks of being a light mage. Tahar, I'm sorry. For everything.
What do you mean?
Well, what you discovered in that dungeon. I didn't see that coming, honestly. I mean, I'd always felt you were different, but an experiment of your father? I would have never guessed. And now that bastard Lacane took your mother. It's just... one tragedy follows another. Now I feel almost ridiculous thinking about my supposed problems.
We can still save her.
Yeah, I know. And we will. Blazes. How crazy does that all sound? A half-shaper whose mother's spirit has been stolen by a religious fanatic. If all this weren't actually happening, I'd think I'd be watching a bad play. Though you'd definitely be the tragic hero in this. And I don't envy you.
A bit of normality would be nice for a change.
I can imagine. Tell me, Tahar, if you had had the choice, would you have wanted to know? About your mother and how you were born?
Well, what about you? Your father also never told you who your mother was. Would you want to find out?
Good question. On the one hand, yes, I think I would. But then again, I never made any serious efforts to find out. I guess in the end it wouldn't have really mattered. She is dead, I know that much. And whether she was a priestess of the White Tree or a slum dweller, it wouldn't have changed the fact that she wasn't there when I grew up. But you're a different story. Your mother is still alive. And she's a shaper. I mean, doesn't that change everything? Would you really have wanted to know?
Yes. It's always better to know the truth.
Is it? Sometimes I wonder if the truth doesn't just make it all worse. Anyway, shaper or not, it's good to have you back. Honestly, there were times when I was worried you wouldn't ever wake up again.
I'm touched.
You better be. Anyway, in case you were wondering, I'm not planning to leave now. If you need my help, I'll be here.
You don't need to stay. You know that, right? Our work with the Purity is over, and nothing's stopping you from going back on the road.
Safer than mage-murdering Lightbringers, right? Look, unless you want me to leave, I'll stay, and I'll fight. And no, I'm not trying to sound heroic. Apart from the fact that there's worse company than you, the dwarf, and the others we picked up along the way, I can't just stand by and watch while those bloody fanatics do their best to plunge this world into yet another war.
Thanks, Iria. I really appreciate it.
Great. And now that we've got that out of the way, you should get some more sleep. You still look like a walking corpse. Don't make a habit out of it. I'll talk to you later. Corporal? Need anything?
You never told me why you fled Finan Mir.
Fair enough. You've given me little reason to distrust you, so... No, well. Let's just get this over with. I already told you about my father. How to him I had always been more of an asset. Well, after my father died, I decided to become a novice.
A novice?
Someone aspiring to be a priest of Elen. I don't know why I did it. It was something my father had always considered a backup plan if an arranged marriage wouldn't work out. Part of it was probably because obeying my father was all I knew at that time.
What does life as a priest of Elen look like?
Boring. Though not as boring as a Northander monk's life. You are free to have family and to indulge in the earthly pleasures. Still, your life is devoted to worship. And for a priest of Elen, that means healing the sick and preserving Elen's greatest gift, nature.
Was it difficult to receive the novitiate?
Not for me. First of all, I was a good candidate. I was still very young, not even in my 30s. And I already knew a great deal about magic and healing. Secondly, I was, after all, pure blood. That helped as well.
But something happened.
Yes. In my first year, I fell in love. That crazy, hot-blooded, head-over-the-heels kind of love that the bards all sing about. The boy felt the same way, and for the next year it was, well, it was perfect. It was the two of us against the world. Maybe you know that feeling.
What was his name?
Doesn't matter.
And the priests didn't mind?
Priestesses. Only women are allowed to teach. And no, they didn't. Elves consider love to be a blessing of Elen. Forbidding it would be near absurd. I have no clue where your monks got that idea from. Though, of course, that boy and I tried to, restrain ourselves when the situation demanded it.
Huh. And I guess your romance didn't end well.
You guess right. But it was more than that. You know, I told you how I always felt estranged around other people. I knew how to put on a smile, how to make myself fit in, but it was always fake. Shallow. With him, it was different. Dramatic as it may sound, I thought I had finally found someone who understood me. Then there was the novitiate. Despite all the time I sunk into doing the crazy things lovers often do, I never failed as a student. Or, no, let's put it another way. I was the best. In every aspect.
Which didn't sit well with some people.
No. And eventually, they made sure I felt it. They excluded me from everything. Stared at me when I walked by. It hurt, yes, but I convinced myself it didn't. I've always been good at that.
Did it take a toll on your relationship with that boy?
More than that. My lover's friends started manipulating him. Telling him that I only saw him as my pet. That he was a failure, and that I only kept him around to feel good about myself.
What? And he listened to them? That's pathetic.
Maybe. But he was young, same as I, and young people often do irrational things. You see, we novices all knew that only 4 out of 20 will be granted priesthood at the end of our training. And being a failed novice leaves you with a mark you'll keep for the rest of your life. It all looked peaceful on the surface, but beneath that it was an arena. And these other novices, they made sure my friend became aware of that fact. To him, I started being a rival as well. And do you want to know the biggest joke of it all? I didn't see it. The idea that I don't know, that he would listen to them. That he would ever reach a point where he'd put what we had below his hurt pride and his fears. It never crossed my mind.
So what happened?
Well, he knew I was curious by nature, so one night when we were in bed together, he suddenly asked me if I wanted to go on an adventure. Of course I said yes. So we snuck out into the cloister's courtyard. It was beautiful. The night was cloudless, and the old oak, our cloister shrine, had just begun to bloom. We made our way to the library building, but of course the door was locked. Out of nowhere, he pulled a key, grinning at me, and opened it. It was insane. As you can imagine, priests aren't known for being lenient towards these kinds of trespassings. We were risking our novitiate, and I didn't even know the reason, but I liked it. And we were doing it together, weren't we? It was exciting. He took my hand and we went to the High Priestess's office. We opened the door and went inside, and there he finally told me what we were here for, to open the grimoire.
Grimoire?
The High Priestess's spellbook. It was a stupid idea. And if I hadn't been so blind, so bloody naive, I should have seen it by then. But I didn't.
What did he ask you to do?
To open it and try to read one of the spells. He teased me. Told me that I wouldn't be able to do it. You know, saying it like that sounds so bloody stupid, doesn't it? But again, I was too blind. I laughed. I wanted to impress him, so I gave him a kiss. Opened the page and started saying the words. Long story short, I lost control. The spell was too much for me to handle and it misfired. One moment I was staring at the pages, the next one the library was aflame and my lover was gone.
How far did that fire spread?
Not far. It was put out before it could do real damage. But, of course, that was the end of novitiate. I was thrown into the cell of shame and sentenced to 12 years of polishing prayer banks and cleaning floors in the shrine.
Did you try to tell the priestesses the whole story?
No, I just sat there and smiled. Of course I did. But my love had all his friends to back him up. To them it wasn't even a trial. It was a feast.
Your lover, did he regret it?
I think so. The only bloody gratification I ever got from this. But even if he would have confessed and begged me to take him back, I couldn't have. All that connection, that trust, it was gone. Worse, it was tainted.
But you never did polish those prayer banks, am I right?
No. And the night after the trial, they still let me sleep in my chamber. Thoughtlessness, I suppose, or maybe they simply didn't care. I got my things, left, and never came back. So, here it is, the whole truth. No dark secrets, no assassinations, no necromantic rituals. Just a plain old broken heart. Compared with all that shit you had to go through, it almost sounds ludicrous.
It doesn't. Being betrayed by someone you trust often hits the hardest.
Yeah, I guess. It's just... I don't get it. How could he give all that up? I mean, there was something between us, you know? Something rare, something precious. But no, he threw it all away for his fucking vanity. But in a way, it's just a continuation of what I've always known. Wherever I am, I'm a stranger. People don't like me, and I don't like them.
For what it's worth, I'm glad our paths crossed.
Yeah, me too, Corporal. Me too. I'd like some space now. I hope you don't mind. Let's talk later.
Mm-hmm.
To this day, the Shaper's magical and technological prowess remains unrivaled.
Will do. Let's see.
Tahar, thank Nihal if you're awake. For a while I wasn't sure you'd make it. How do you feel? Out on the battlefield, we didn't really get the chance to talk.
Could be worse.
Well, that's good to hear. It's a tragedy. The purity on the loose, with the power of the Archfire in the Harbinger's hands. Who could have seen that coming? For what it's worth, I'm sorry I had to go through this. I truly am.
I always had my doubts about Lacane. Only I didn't expect this to happen.
I figure.
Be that as it may, all that matters now is that we stop him. What about you, Iskrim? I doubt whatever bargain you struck with Lacane still stands. You're still here. So I guess you aren't planning on leaving.
Me? No, of course not. Where would I go, Tahar? There's no way of knowing what the Purity would do if they caught me. He wanted to kill you, so maybe Lacane doesn't want to leave any witnesses. Not to mention that we're still in the ancient Shaper city, full of marvels waiting to be discovered.
Well, I'm glad you're able to see it that way.
A frown hasn't helped anyone yet, has it? There's, one more thing I wanted to ask you. It's about your mother. About Andra.
Ask.
I'm not sure how to say this, but she was a Shaper. A living Shaper.
What are you getting at?
All tragedy aside, you have to understand how fascinating this is. A Shaper who survived through the Aeons. And as if that weren't enough, you even turn out to be related. I have so many questions, Tahar, so many questions. Iria said at the moment Andra and you melded, she made you see something. Fragments of her past. Now, I can't help but wonder, what was it? Did you see Mullendir in all its former glory?
I didn't see anything. It's more like I suddenly had that sense of familiarity. Especially here.
But that's even more exciting. She must have transferred some of her memories onto you. I wonder if that's part of this melding ritual. Look, Tahar, I'm not sure how to say this, but how would you feel about it if I examine her? There's so much we could learn from her. even if her mind has left her body.
What do you mean by examine? We're not talking about a dissection, are we?
What? No, of course not.
Why? What are you hoping to gain from that?
You mean apart from being able to examine the body of a living Shaper? There's much we could learn. Maybe we could even find something that helps us fight Lacane.
If you really think it helps, all right, do it.
You really just said that? By Behalf, thank you. I'll talk to Undergast as soon as possible. His knowledge will be a great help. It'll be a while before we can start, but we'll do it as soon as possible.
Now would you?
Tahar, may I help you with something?
I'd still like to know more.
Bugger and blast.
Yes?
That I get to ask you a personal question too. Well then, I suppose we'll stay strangers.
Goodbye. Got it. Let's see.
Tahar, ready to discuss the next steps?
There's just one thing I still can't wrap my head around. How did Lacane become so powerful? How could he rally so many people behind him?
The big question, isn't it? In the end, I think it boils down to the fact that he poured salt into the wounds the Mage Wars had left in Northander. You see, it's not hard to rally people behind you if they are desperate enough. He just gave them a simple answer to a complex question. And the people believed him. Though I don't consider him a pragmatist, he really believes in what he says. That Aemir will return once mankind has repented. Which worries me even more. There's nothing more dangerous than fanaticism fueled by magical power. Your father is the best example.
I want to talk about Sentenza. His death.
Well, what is there to say? As I heard the story, he didn't leave you much choice.
So you're not angry?
For you defending your life? No. I never understood why he was so obsessed with hunting you down to begin with.
But he was acting on your orders.
Well, yes, strictly spoken, he was. You were a traitor. Or at least, that's what we thought back then. That witch hunt in Iskang, the battle at the Eye, that was his choice.
Why? Why did he want me dead so badly?
Well, I can only guess. But to me, it seemed as if he felt as if you had, I don't know, betrayed him. He always spoke highly of you. Did you know that? At times, it almost felt as if he considered you his own kin.
I thought so.
You see, Tahar, in the end, both he and I are men born from war. Seeing people die at your command, hearing the widows and the orphans cry as a result of your choices, it changes you. You need to find a way to deal with it. And Sentenza did so by shutting off his emotions entirely. Or, at least, to the outside. But in the end, he always did what he thought was best for Northander. He saw the Harbinger's true face, even before he revealed it. And I brushed it off as his usual distrust towards anyone, which was, as you know, a fatal mistake. And who knows, maybe if I had listened, it would never have come to this.
Without the Harbinger, I'd be dead.
That's true. But this discussion isn't leading us anywhere, Tahar.
You didn't tell me yet. How exactly did you get here? Weren't you in Greyfell when the Harbinger took over?
No, I wasn't. Otherwise, I wouldn't be standing here. But we were on our way back the night it happened. As you can imagine, it was a hard choice to make. But eventually, I left my pride behind and realized attacking Greykeep with the little division I was traveling with would have been suicide.
So you fled?
We retreated. The rest is simple. We went to Iskander because we had heard the rumors about your army. There we met one of your scouts, and then the elven woman, Iria of Finnonmere.
Oh, she decided to let you in?
Correct. You know the rest. Your people were a bit distrustful at first, and I don't blame them. After all, they'd been fighting the Royal Army not too long ago. But eventually, they realized that we were on the same side.
I hope that we are.
We are. Trust me.
Alright, let's discuss what comes next. I'll go get the others.
Good.
Good. Now that you're all here, I'd like to plan how we proceed. As
Tahar, I think you should allow yourself some more rest. You were in a coma for more than a month, and we still don't know what that melding actually did to you.
Isn't it obvious? It made him more powerful.
Yeah, but where does that power come from? What effect does it have on the human body or the psyche? We don't know.
I'm alright, Scrim. Just trust me.
Fine. And go on.
Thank you. So, our objective is clear. We need to defeat the Purity of Light and save my mother. Angar, am I right to assume that Lacane made Greykeep his new base of operations?
Correct. It's the center of his power, which is both good and bad. It's bad because Greyfell was built to withstand any kind of ambush.
And why is it good?
Because it also means if we succeed and reconquer Greyfell, we'll cut off the snake's head. Once we kill Lacane, the Purity will fall. However, there's no point in fooling ourselves. That battle for Greyfell will be bloody, and if we want to have even the slightest chance of winning, we need to join the remaining houses.
Ultran, Hallett, and Wulfgar.
Yes. If we put this army together with theirs, we might stand a chance. Also, you should see if you can strengthen the alliances you already have, Tahar. I have a plan regarding that, so we can talk further once this meeting has been concluded.
So do I.
Alright, so where do we start?
It's up to you. But before we can even think about arranging a conclave between the houses, we need to break that spell the Harbinger put on my sister Myra. Isgrim, any ideas?
Actually it should be simple. We need to find the one controlling her, take the rune and, well, destroy it in the forge.
And who is controlling her? What if it's the Harbinger himself?
I doubt it. The manipulator has to be physically close to his subject, so it'll most likely be someone in Lady Myra's army. But your rune will react to another rune's presence, so once that person is near, you'll feel it.
Good. Then I have a plan. The Harbinger has taken up position in Iskander, between the Utran and the Everlight border. You know that place, Tahar. It's where your father started his rebellion, and where Sentenza almost captured you.
The Loyalist camp. So what's your plan?
We strike in full force and take the castle. He'll be forced to initiate a counterattack, and my sister's armies, the Utran army, will be the closest ones at hand.
A bait.
Yes, we hold the castle against the main army, whereas you, Tahar, and a small troop get behind enemy lines. You find the rune carrier and strike from the shadows. Obviously, you'll have to act quick. We can't hold against the entire Utran army forever.
What if killing the rune carrier won't break the mind control?
We'll just have to hope that doesn't happen.
Alright. So we take over the castle, wait for the Utran armies to cross the border, sneak behind their lines, and eliminate the rune carrier. And once Lady Myra is freed, we will try to gain the support of House Hallett and House Wulfgar.
Yes, though we'll need to take care of something else before that. But let's discuss this when the time comes.
Agreed. One more thing. This will be dangerous, and our original mission has been completed. In other words, if any of you are thinking of leaving, now is the time. Well, then we best get prepared now. I'll tell you when we head out.
Understood. Tahar, I'd also like to talk with you if you have a moment.
Corporal Tahar. A word, if you will?
Who are you?
Private Miller, Corporal. I'm from the Royal Army and came here with the Lord Marshal. We've captured someone who we suspect belongs to the Purity. He was seen in the deserted village outside this city, and he looks suspicious. He claims to be a simple courier sent to deliver a message to you, but we didn't want to take any risks. He's outside, near the entrance to the caves.
I see. Thank you, soldier. Dismissed.
Corporal?
You said you know where we can find more allies.
Yes I do. I'll make it short. The Ash Reavers have invaded the foot of Bargagor. If we defeat them and their leader, like we defeated Krell, their soldiers will join us.
The Ash Reavers? I'm guessing that's another orc tribe.
Yes, you already met them, back at Farland's Hope. They are a very violent tribe. A lot like what Krell wanted the Fire Wielders to become. And they are nomads. They never stay in one place for more than a couple of moons, which is why their city is basically a movable fortress.
So, we head back to Bargagor and defeat them. Sounds simple enough.
Well, yeah. Except for one thing. Kagan, the Ash Reavers chieftain. I think this invasion is about more than gaining new territory. It's personal. He despises me. And that's putting it lightly.
Why? Because you killed Krell?
No. It's more complicated than that. Do you remember the story about my trial? About Rain?
Yeah, I do. You took the Shapeshifter's trial together, and she sacrificed herself so that you could live.
Yeah, she did. To get to the point, Kagan is Rain's true brother. To this day, he thinks that I killed her.
Did you ever try to tell him the true story?
We only met once. And yes, I did try to talk to him. It ended in a fight which I won. That disgrace only added to his hatred. And truth be told, that was my last attempt to convince him. I knew it was fruitless. Our tribes lived weeks of journey from each other. And, well, the memory of Rain's sacrifice is painful enough for me as it is. I just wanted it buried. Somewhere in the dark corners of my mind where I'd never have to face it again. Which, as you can guess, didn't work. I still have nightmares.
I see. And that's why he invaded Bargagor.
It must be. Bloodthirsty as the Ash Reavers are, there is no reason for them to start a war with the Fire Wielders, especially now that we unify them. He must have heard that I'm behind this, and that rekindled his hatred for me. In other words, we need to stop him, and as fast as possible. According to one of my sources, the Purity is also planning to start an attack on Bargagor. The Fire Wielders should be able to hold them at bay, but not if they have to wage war against the Ash Reavers at the same time.
Why is the Purity attacking Bargagor?
Isn't it obvious? To eradicate us. Just like the Dark Elves, we Orcs are a creation of the renegade gods. So we aren't even given the chance to repent. The King's war doesn't stop in Northander, Tahar. He plans to take on the entire world.
Huh. So what's the plan? Return to Bargagor, drive back the Ash Reavers, and kill Kagan?
If all else fails, yes. We will kill him. For the sake of my people, and for our cause. But he's Rain's last living kin. So I want to first try reasoning with him instead. There must be a way to convince him that I'm not a liar, that I didn't kill his sister.
All right. I'll tell you when we head out.
Yes, Chieftain Czar already left before you woke up to get an idea of the situation. I know time is sparse, but we should leave as soon as possible. And thank you, Tahar. I appreciate it.
Tell me, Angar, do you regret helping the Purity, now that you've seen their true face?
That's a hard question to answer, and you know it. On the one hand, yes, I underestimated them. On the other hand, back then, it was the only logical thing to do.
Logical?
Yes. After all your father did in the Mage War, the people were angry, desperate, broken. The Purity channeled and still channels these emotions. It may sound cynical to say that now, but if it hadn't been for the Purity of Light, something far worse might have happened.
Worse than a mage genocide? You let the Purity murder hundreds of mages.
Most of them were war criminals anyway. They would have been sentenced to death no matter what. But that is not to say that my decision to give the Purity of Light that much power came easy. I'm not free of self-doubt and empathy to her, even though it may seem that way to you.
However, I will not lie. Mages are a problem, and something needs to be done about them. If we don't, it is only a matter of time until a second Isamo Tahar will appear and once again plunge the world into chaos.
We need a group that represents mages. Then treaties could be made.
That is an interesting idea. But before we can decide on any course of action, we need to deal with the current threat first. But to return to your question, all I did was take every factor into consideration and decide accordingly. You did the same, more than once. I've heard of the trail of destruction you've left behind on your journey. Many people died under your command.
We tried to help wherever we could.
I believe you. But have no doubt that there are many who don't. What I'm trying to say is, there might have been a better way to handle things, but I did not see it. I did what I could, and even though it turned out to be a mistake, I have no regrets.
I wanted to talk about Leonon.
I had a feeling you would. Look, back at Greykeep, the situation seemed crystal clear. You killed 3 of your brethren, and General Noria openly spoke out against you. Similar to my policy regarding the purity of light, I can now see that I was wrong. But again, all I did was to take all factors into consideration and decide accordingly. It was all I could do.
You also could have used common sense. I risked my life to help Nortander back when I turned to my father. Why would I now suddenly start massacring Wolfguard soldiers?
You're right. I should have taken that into consideration. Either way, you've been pardoned. And more than that, now we're fighting side by side against the real scourge of the Empire. I don't hold any grudges against you. And I can only hope you feel the same.
The past is the past.
It is indeed.
Did you ever think about what would happen if the Queen never wakes up from her coma?
She will wake up. The healers claim that she's already getting better.
They've claimed that ever since the dragon incapacitated her.
The Queen has Hibernian blood in her veins. And as long as her heart is still beating, I will not waste any time thinking about something that might never happen. Though, of course, that is not to say that others at the court haven't done it. Most people believe that Queen Aelith doesn't have an heir. But that's wrong. She does.
Really? Who?
A cousin. I suppose you know about the Queen's problematic ancestry. The ability to give life has always been impaired in her bloodline, which is why she does not have any brothers or sisters. However, it was rumored that her uncle, Anno Aelith, left an heir before he died. A bastard son.
It's the first time I've ever heard that.
Yes, because the Crown took measures to quiet these rumors. Suffice it to say that Queen Ayla's supposed cousin is far from an ideal candidate for the throne. But I will not go into detail on this topic. It is irrelevant. And it will stay irrelevant, because the Queen will survive. I can feel it.
I'll be leaving now.
All right.
Interesting. You said that you have an idea on how we can get more allies to fight the Purity.
Yes, I do. It's someone you're already familiar with. At least, according to your friend Iri. The Iron Falcons.
You want to convince them to join our troops?
Not all of them, obviously. The Field Dog are an even greater threat than the Purity, even if most people nowadays have almost forgotten about them. What I suggest is that we strike a bargain with them. They give us a small division of their elite keepers, and we provide them with twice the amount of foot and maybe engineers to make up for it.
Engineers and infantry for a handful of knights. Is that really worth it?
It is. The Falcons aren't only excellent fighters. Their presence will also inspire our soldiers. They're living legends.
That's not what it seemed like when I was there. High Keeper Aranor almost lost the tomb just because she was too stubborn to cooperate with the Deathmen.
Well, given that the latter now fight for the Harbinger, her mistrust wasn't that unjustified, don't you think? But still, you make a fair point. Keeper Aranor is complicated. But if what the elf told me is true, she learned her lesson.
All right, it's worth a try. When do we set out?
Whenever you want. Thanks to these Godstones, it won't take us long to get there, so I'm not expecting this mission to cost us more than a day, 2 at most. We should probably take some troops with us, just in case the canyon is still unsafe.
Fair enough. I'll let you know when we go.
Good.
Understood.
So, I guess we have some talking to do, don't we?
You knew about my mother, didn't you? That's what you hinted at back at the forge, before we set out to the Eye.
Well, the answer is yes and no. I had suspicions, let us call it that, but they weren't enough to go on, and I had no idea your mother was connected to the Bloodburn.
Why didn't you tell me?
That I believe you might be the result of your father's experiments? That you're the offspring of some long-dead, forgotten race? Tell me, Tahar, what for? I mean, at best, you wouldn't have believed me. And at worst, it would have cost you your sanity. So no, I don't think I should have told you. I didn't know if these suspicions had any substance at all. And I would have been at great risk, especially back then when you were still part of the rebellion.
Where did these suspicions come from? Did my father tell you?
No. And he never found out that I knew. Your father... I don't need to tell you how meticulous he was, do I? That's why he always kept notes of experiments and studies. I found one, a notebook. The story's actually quite simple. Your father had gone out to meet with Aelot Iskander, and had tasked me with cleaning up his laboratory.
Really? He never let me into his laboratory.
I know. And he wasn't exactly trustworthy towards me, neither. But you know Asamo. His mood was never what you'd call stable. One day, he'd think the entire rebellion had schemed against him. The next day, he told us that we'd change the world. It was part of his charisma, I guess. Sometimes I think the reason why the Mage Rebellion became so big was less of Asamo's magical powers, rather than his ability to create emotions as followers. But we digress. So I had found this small booklet on his table. It didn't look important in any way, yet I was immediately curious. I opened it and started reading.
What was in there?
His experiments in the eye. The ancient woman, as he called her. Your creation, these waxwork figures which he tried to infuse with life. It was disturbing. And at the same time, fascinating, as you can imagine.
That book. Did it say anything about how this ritual worked? Andrew said something about how the Shapers conceive differently.
I don't think it can be compared to how two humans reproduce, if that's what you're thinking. But as for the details, I don't know. As I said, I barely had 1 hour, and I only got to the chapter about you in the very end.
Do you still have that book?
No, of course not. I couldn't even read through all of it, else your father would have noticed that I had done nothing of what he had tasked me with. And I have no idea where it is now.
I figured. So, why did he, well, create me? My mother said it was to gain access to the Archfire.
Yes, I think that was the main reason. Though I couldn't help but notice a certain, I don't know, warmth in his words when he described his plans.
Warmth. I guess I should feel honored.
Yes. Sounds cynical, doesn't it? Still, I don't think you were just a tool to him. You weren't. Tell me, Tahar. Knowing all that, how does it make you feel?
I don't know. It doesn't change anything about the present.
No. I guess it doesn't. Either way, I think we both need some time to think. As I said, Tahar, I'm sorry that I didn't tell you earlier. But I simply didn't know what to do.
Tahar, it is good to see that you have recovered. This place and these people lack guidance without you.
They did?
Yes. The Lord Marshal tried to assume control, but as you might have expected, he did not have everybody's support. I was even fearing an internal power struggle, and I'm glad it did not come to that. I must say, Tahar, your mother, she is remarkable. I have always wondered what the Shapers look like, and now I do. It is fascinating, though I suppose this is a difficult topic for you. Forgive me if my words were inappropriate.
All that matters is that we save her. We need to stop Lacane and get my mother's spirit back into her body.
Yes, this is our objective. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about? Yes, what is it?
Back when we met, you told me about an internal disagreement, which led to many of the guild's mages leaving. What exactly happened?
Why do you want to know?
No particular reason. I'm simply curious.
I see. Well, simply put, the guild had two leaders until half a year ago, me and Lena. Lena and a lot of the other mages felt that they could uphold their neutrality no longer without sacrificing their integrity.
You're talking about the persecution of mages?
Yes, I am. As Lena said, they are crucifying us, burning us alive, putting masks on our heads that destroy our minds. If there's something wrong with the world, it's people who keep their heads down because they are afraid to stand in for what's right.
Quite the speech.
She was very emotional when it came to the topic, yes. However, her stance conflicted with everything the Creators Guild stands for. We preserve knowledge, push forward the boundaries of magic. We do not involve ourselves in power games and politics. Figuratively speaking, a fisher will never be a good military commander, just like a mage will never be a good politician.
I agree with you, though. It's a good thing Everlight or the Creators Guild are neutral. EO needs places of stability, especially in times like this.
I must say I am surprised you feel that way. I always thought you and Lena are very much alike, at least when it comes to the topic of idealism. But these events lie in the past. There is no point in discussing them any further, though I had certainly hoped for a different outcome.
You seem bitter.
As I said, I had hoped for a different outcome.
So, Undergast, when you told me about your split with Lena, I got the feeling that you were more than just colleagues.
You are asking if we were in love. Am I correct?
Well, yeah, I guess.
Then let me start by telling you that the term love is undefined. I have read a lot of books on it, and I, myself, never felt it. And maybe that was because I saw the underlying mechanisms.
Well, what are the underlying?
The desire to reproduce with a fitting mate. In fact, the orcs have a very dry, rational view on this process. But for some reason, humans, dwarves, and elves do not.
True. I never understood.
Once again,
So, what you're saying...
No, it was not that simple. You see, Tahar, to me, the bonds people... And I am not like Iana. Her mind simply does not have the ability to feel these bonds anymore. She had them once, but then she lost them, as she became a dreamweaver. My brain is capable of feeling these things. I can't. But then there was Lena, yet it changed me. All at once, I felt...
Well, yes. There is.
I see. Then you probably know how distracting...
Your inability...
Yes, even though I felt connected to Lena.
What did Lena make of all?
Nothing. I believe this is what made our...
Am I right to assume...
No, you misunderstand. But yes, you are correct.
Do you feel...
betrayed? No, desires, wishes, and urges are natural things, and I always found the...
What, so you didn't even argue?
As I said, acceptance of one another. You see, if...
Such as...
Well, anything. But again, she never tried to force me.
And you have no idea where...
I don't. I have heard rumors that they were...
How do you feel about this?
That is a good question. I do not know how I would feel.
I can imagine. Well, thank you for trusting me with this.
You have nothing to thank me for. If this conversation helped you get a better picture of me, I'm glad we had it. But there is one...
Tell me.
Do you have regrets? Do you ever feel as if you could and should...
Everybody has regrets.
That seems like a deliberately vague answer. You see, I've never...
How so?
Well, it is no secret that you have endured a lot of pain. Especially your early childhood must have made a mark on your psyche.
Well, I'm doing what
I can see that. Either way, I think we have spent enough time.
We should. So long, Undergast.
Tahar, good of you to come by.
Sure. You wanted to talk?
Yes. I'll be brief. While you were asleep, an elven messenger came by. Varden Merilith, one of the Moorhere scryers from Leafshade, sent him.
Merilith? What did he want?
Only that he needed your help. They, that is, he and a couple of his followers, seem to be somewhere deep in the Leafshade jungle, near the Halayish ruins.
The old Hibernia city. But what do they want there? That's dangerous.
I don't know, Tahar. We will need to find out.
Do we really have time for this?
That is something you will need to decide. But if we don't help, it might cause unrest within the Moorhere, who are fighting for us.
All right. We might look into this.
We should. Is there anything else you wish to discuss, Tahar? Yes, Corporal? How can I help?
Well, there's something I've been meaning to ask you. How did you become an assassin?
Why do you want to know?
No particular reason, I suppose. I'm just curious.
I see. In short, my mother sold me. And after an incident, my owner noticed my talents. He started to train me to carry out jobs for him. And when I was 17, he had an accident. I've been an independent assassin ever since.
Your mother sold you? But where? Why?
Because she needed the coin, and already had 4 children to feed. And as for your first question, where there is demand, there is a market. Particularly in a big city like Greyfell. It's not as uncommon as you might believe.
So, who is this man who bought you?
I won't talk about that. This chapter of my past is done, and I want it to stay buried.
I understand.
I'm glad you do. So, tell me, Pariah, how did you become the betrayer's child in the first place? It's rare for a child to defy their own father.
That's simple. My father was a monster, and I had to stop him.
A monster? Interesting. What makes you call him that?
He was power-hungry. He said his war was about protecting the mages, but it wasn't. All he cared about was becoming more powerful.
I understand. Either way, is there anything else you need?
Goodbye.
Yes, Corporal? How can I help?
About you being an assassin.
I'm still not certain. The question really is, do you want to know? It might change something.
Such as?
Your perception of me. It is your choice.
Well, I wouldn't have asked otherwise. Tell me.
All right. Where should I begin? Do you remember what I told you about that man who bought me from the Greyfell Bazaar? My owner? I also told you that after an incident, he discovered my talents and made me an assassin.
I remember. But what does that have to do with your morality?
It's complicated. The incident took place at a festivity. A lot of highly influential people were there, servants of the crown, wealthy merchants, nobles. My master knew all of Greyfell's elites. As always, at these festivities, it was my and the other slaves' responsibility to ensure the guests' well-being. It must have been close to midnight when a man took me into his chambers. I'd learned to play along years ago because resisting only made it worse. This time, however, was different. For some reason, that man wanted me to tell him that I loved him. I did, but he kept on telling me that I should say it like I really mean it. When I couldn't, he got angrier and started choking me. I had almost lost consciousness when I felt something break. I don't know how else to put it. It was as if my mind simply cracked open, like a crystal ball smashed against a mirror. And all of a sudden, that man and I weren't separate entities anymore.
I don't follow.
My magic, my dream weavery, that's when it broke free. You probably don't know this, but the only way to become a dream weaver is by shattering your mind. You are opening yourself to the thoughts and emotions of others, but you lose your own.
Wait, Dreamweavers don't feel and think?
No, we do. But it's differently than normal people. Me. The Iana you're talking with is the result of long work and studying of human behavior. I know how to blend in, to seem like I'm just like you. But the world inside my head is an entirely different one. Again, it is almost impossible to put into words if you're not a dreamweaver yourself.
What happened to the man?
I killed him. It wasn't a conscious choice, looking back. I even think that shattering my mind was my body's way of ensuring survival. I closed my eyes, reached out for the man's mind, and just crushed it. The man gasped, lost balance, and fell right off the bed. He wasn't dead yet, but unable to move. Like a puppet rid of its strings. At first I was disoriented, but then I felt it, for the first time. The urge.
To kill him?
Yes. To massacre him. Hear his screams. To see his life taken by my hand. I grabbed a lantern that was standing on a bedside table and knelt over him, and... well, you can picture the rest. To get back to your original question, that urge, it stuck with me. I think that the moment when my mind shattered and I became a dreamweaver is what unlocked it. Ever since then, I've found violence and bloodshed to be ecstatic, erotic even. And when I kill someone, like I killed that man, I feel alive. Actually, it's one of the few times I am capable of feeling anything at all.
Huh. This is why you became an assassin?
Yes. My master introduced me into the craft. Probably because he knew that my dreamweavery had changed me. I wasn't just a slave child anymore. I was a weapon now. More than that, even. I needed what these new tasks my master sent me on provided me with. It had become a basic need of mine. Of course, I briefly considered changing my profession after my master had his accident. But I didn't. Killing is something I need, as much as a child needs the love of his mother. If I don't feed my urge, I will die. Not physically, but mentally. I just know this.
Right. Is there no way to cure you? To return your mind to its original state?
No, there isn't.
What about your victims? Don't you ever feel guilt?
Once again, Tahar, I do not feel emotions the way you do. Of course I wonder if I made a mistake, but my reflections are purely based on theory. But then again, I don't accept just any contract. The way Leonardo described you, you are a monster in human disguise. And that's the first principle I try to live by. Criminals first. The second one is never kill a mother or a child, regardless of the pay.
What? No children? How noble.
There's no need for sarcasm. I know that my restrictions may seem ridiculous to you.
But what if you're wrong? If you kill an innocent?
That has happened before, and it will happen again. You see, I do not consider myself some kind of vigilante, some kind of judge. Ultimately, I know that I am what society would call a murderer, and that I do what I do for myself, above all else.
Well, it was definitely not what I was expecting.
I can imagine.
That's a lot to take in.
I know. Now, tell me, Tahar, do you regret asking me this question? Knowing all this, do you think I'm a monster?
You're not.
Really? That's unexpected. Anyway, I would like some time for myself now. I hope you understand.
Now would you look at that? Mm-hmm.
Oh, great. Another one. How often do you want me to tell you? I'm not a spy, and I'm not with Purity.
Wait! You're their leader, aren't you? Corporal Tahar!
Yes?
Well, then maybe you can tell these fools to let me go. Blazes, I knew it was stupid to take that job.
So, who are you? And what were you doing in Farland's Hope?
As I told this bloody brute who captured me, I'm just a courier, and someone paid me to deliver a message to a Corporal Tahar. I had no idea it was the Corporal Tahar, and had I known, I would have told that guy who gave me the job to sod off.
Who was it?
Well, he was wearing a hood, so he obviously didn't want to be recognized, but he had a brown beard, was about your height, and had, I don't know how to put it, a certain sadness in his eyes.
But he didn't look dangerous and paid good coin, so I took it.
Can I see this message?
Oh, finally, someone who asks. Yes, it's in my coat pocket, and no, there's no poison in there to kill you.
Let me see. A meeting in Everlight. From a friend.
A friend, you see? Can I go now?
Yes. Go.
Thank you, Corporal. Thank you. Now, don't get me wrong, but I want to get out of here as soon as possible. Do you think your guards will let me through?
They will. Stay safe.
I'll try.
Everything has an end. Leave it to me.
I'll keep you shielded.
Easy.
High Chieftain Gore! High Chieftain Gore!
Do I know you?
Zarek, I'm a tracker. Chieftain Zar sent me to welcome you.
Ah, good. Where are they? And what's the situation?
Bad. The Ash Reavers have started to put up their cow to the northeast. And the Paleskins...
The Purity.
Yes, the Purity. They are only a 2-day march from the mountain.
2 days. That's not a lot of time.
It isn't. Zarek, where's Zar now? And the other ones I asked him to gather.
To the north. They are waiting for you.
Good. Go and tell them we're coming. Tahar, I won't lie. This will be a tough battle. But we have to win it before the Purity arrives. Let's head to the camp and talk to Zar and the other advisors. They'll help us establish a strategy.
Who are these advisors? How can they help us?
You'll see.
Didn't you want to try diplomacy first?
This is diplomacy, Tahar. The Orcish version. If we'd let Kagan know we're here before we've gathered some force, he'd simply crush us. Never seek reconciliation without a display of strength. Now come.
Gore?
Huh?
Did your kind ever, consider moving into a friendlier climate?
Some orcs did. The Moonskin, for example. But as far as we fire wielders are concerned, no. This wasteland is our home, and it will stay that way. The harsher the climate, the bigger the struggle, and thus the stronger our kind.